This is your research presenter, Rianabel Plaza Lugzon of Davao City, Philippines. My study is entitled An Action Research on Improving the Mastery Skills of Students in Describing and Classifying Parts and Functions of Animals in Science Grade 3 through Strategic Intervention Material. For the abstract, this study aimed to determine the effectiveness use of strategic intervention materials in science for third grade students. The study utilized the descriptive comparative design in analyzing the data. The respondents were 33 grade 3 students from Section Mahogany of Magallanes Elementary School, Davao Central District, Davao City, Philippines, which were selected through random sampling. The study made use of the mean and the standard deviation to analyze the data. Research and results indicated that the intervention using the strategic intervention material has a significant effect with a large effect size on the performance of the students. Introduction. The world we live today is going through dramatic changes. In this modern world, we find ourselves more dependent on science and technology. Therefore, the core learning area standard in science for the entire K-12 focuses on the learners to demonstrate the understanding of the basic science concepts and application of science inquiry skills. The learners will exhibit scientific attitudes and values to solve problems critically, innovate beneficial products, protect the environment and conserve resources, enhance the integrity and wellness of people, make informed decisions, and engage in the discussions of relevant issues that involve science and technology and the environment according to the K-12 Beck Science 2016. In grade 3, the learners are expected to acquire helpful habits and develop curiosity about self and their environment using basic process skills of observing, communicating, comparing, classifying, and measuring, inferring, and predicting. This curiosity will help the learners value science as an important tool in helping them to continue to explore their natural and physical environment. This should also include developing scientific knowledge or concepts. Thus, strategic intervention material is utilized in order to respond to this challenge. The material is intended for the learners who needs to develop to help in the teaching learning process. The SIM aims to develop their critical thinking skills and presented in such a way that the scientific knowledge skills and processes are acquired in a careful planning. To address this standard set by the Department of Education, learners who needed intervention are identified to guide them in realizing the required skills set to them. One of the least learned competencies in science grade 3 is observing and describing the different parts of the living things, focusing on the animals for the second quarter as reported by our district science coordinator last school year. The result per se is one of the challenges that we are trying to solve this school year. Students cannot become skilled in analyzing and assessing reasoning without practicing it. However, when they have routine practice in paraphrasing, summarizing, analyzing, and assessing, they will develop skills of mind requisite to the art of thinking well within the subject or discipline, not to mention thinking well within the various domains of human life, according to Laminta 2016. Thus, strategic intervention material is utilized in order to respond to this challenge. The material is intended for the learners who needs our help in the teaching and learning process. The SIM aims to develop their critical thinking skills and presented in such a way that scientific knowledge, skills, and processes are acquired careful planning. However, the main concern for the grade 3 learners for this school year will master the competency in describing and classifying the parts and functions of the animals. The learners need to understand the concept easily and can manage to answer and manipulate the activities to their own. To improve teaching strategies in delivering the concept of the lesson, wherein students are explicitly identify and describe the body parts and function of the animals. It is also a primary duty of a teacher to look into the activities and assessment materials given to them. Research methodology. The method used in this study was the descriptive comparative research design, which was concerned solely on the gathered, recorded, analyzed, and interpreted data from the selected variables without any regards of external influences or other hypotheses. A researcher-made test consisting of the 25 item questions was used to measure the performance of the respondents on both pre-test and post-test. The study was conducted on a span of 1 week, utilized for the intervention as well as the collection of data. Probability random sampling technique through draw lots was used in this study in selecting the respondents. The participants of the study were the 33 grade 3 students of Magallanes Elementary School. Results and discussion. Thus, implication of the strategic intervention material bridges the learning gaps. SIM is a remediation aid of the students at the level of their understanding and thereby increasing their academic achievement. It is therefore manifested in the result of their pre-test and post-test result that the intervention itself is very effective. Here are the results. For the Table 1, scores of students before the implementation of the SIM. For the pre-test, there are 33 respondents, and the median is 13.27, and the standard deviation is 3.93, and the descriptive interpretation is satisfactory. The Table 1 shows that the pre-test scores of my students before the implementation of SIM. It reveals a mean score of 13.27 with a descriptive interpretation of satisfactory. For Table 2, scores of students after the implementation of the SIM. Post-test with the 33 respondents with a mean of 22.52 with standard deviation of 1.77 with a descriptive interpretation very satisfactory. This shows that the post-test scores of students after the implementation of the SIM. It showed that the mean scores of 22.52, a descriptive interpretation of very satisfactory. The implementation of the strategic intervention material, or what we know as the SIM in science, is one of the effective interventions that can give the students in order to help them to master a specific competency. In spite of the class size, the student at risk can work on their own through the help of this material. The material itself is composed of the different parts in which every activity is being planned carefully in order to help the learners to explore various ideas and concepts that would enrich their understanding on the concept and sharpen their idea of the competency. This will otherwise help the students to rediscover and relearn again the lesson which is not clear to them, thus helping them to gain the mastery of the skill. Furthermore, this material ensures the alignment of the activities to the given objectives. The reference says, these are the bases, the K-12 Basic Education Curriculum in Science 2016, K-12 Learners Material in Science Quarter 2 for Grade 3, K-12 Teaching Guides in Science Grade 3, pages 104 to 111, Lamintak D 2016 RNE Approach in Teaching Science and Improvement of Learners' Critical Learning Skills, Davao Central District Research Journal. Allow me to present to you the intervention material used in this study. It has been my pleasure to share to you my research. Once again, I'm Rihanna Plaza Luzon of Davao City, Philippines. Mabuhay!
Thank you very much to our first presenter today. Thank you so much, Ma'am. Wow, so that's another action research on improving the mastery skills of students in describing and classifying parts and functions of animals in Science 3 through Strategic Intervention Material, or the SIM. So that's Reynabel P. Lugzon. Thank you, ma'am. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll give the certificate of recognition to our first speaker, presenter today on her research. Philippine Association for Graduate Education of Region 11, Council of Deans for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated Graduate School Certificate of Recognition for paper presentation is hereby awarded to Reynabel P. Lugzon for an excellent oral performance in presenting her research during the 5th International Multidisciplinary Research Conference with the inclusive dates April 28, 29, 30, 2022 with the theme Directionality on Research and Creative Works for Utilization through Virtual Oral Presentation and Refereed Journal Publication amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, signed by our international acclaimed authors and researchers, with the Institutional Research Director, Dr. Nelia B. Aga, the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, with the Vice President for the Academic Affairs, Dr. Lourdes C. Cabintoy, and our Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated President, Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno. Congratulations to Ma'am Reynabel P. Lugzon. And this time, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next presenter today, karanasang pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral na galing sa alternative learning system na nasa senior high school sa panahon ng pandemya. Ginang Lordely G. Lumba.
Magandang araw po sa inyong lahat. Ako po pala si Lordely G. Lumba na nagmula sa aaralan ng Rizal Memorial Colleges. Ang pamagat ng aking papel pananaliksik ay tungkol sa karanasang pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral na galing sa alternative learning system na nasa senior high school sa panahon ng pandemya. Introduction. Sabi ni Pakleta taong 2020, batay sa kanyang natuklasan, blended learning ang gagamitin sa pagkatuto sa mga mag-aaral sa darating na pasukan dahil sa pandemya. Kabilang sa mga material na gagamitin ang online, TV, radyo, modules, or iba pa. Masakit isipin ang katotohanan na maaaring maraming mga bata ang mapag-iiwanan sa edukasyon dahil nahihirapan sa mga hamon na kanilang kinakaharap sa buhay sa panahon ng pandemya. Mga katanungan sa pananaliksik. Ang pag-aaral na ito ay isinagawa upang malaman kung ano ang mga karanasang pagkatuto ng mga alternative learning system na mag-aaral ng senior high school sa panahon ng pandemya. Ninanais ng pag-aaral na ito na mabigyang kasagutan ang mga sumusunod na mga tanong. Una, ano-ano ang mga karanasang pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral na galing sa ALS sa panahon ng pandemya? Pangalawa, paano hinaharap ng mga mag-aaral na galing sa ALS ang pagkatuto sa panahon ng pandemya? Pangatlo, ano-ano ang mga kabatirang natutuhan ng mga mag-aaral na galing sa ALS sa panahon ng pandemya? Pamamaraan. Ang buong kabanatang ito ay tumatalakay sa mga pamamaraan at disenyo na ginagamit sa pag-aaral ng mananaliksik. Ito ay nahahati sa sumusunod na bahagi: pilosopikal na palagay, kwalitatibong palagay, disenyo ng pananaliksik, mga kalahok ng pananaliksik, etikal na konsiderasyon ng pag-aaral, tungkulin ng mananaliksik, paglikom ng mga datos, pagsusuri ng mga datos, at pagtitiwala sa kawastuhan ng pag-aaral. Disenyo ng pananaliksik. Ang disenyo sa pag-aaral na ito ay kwalitatibo. Ang kwalitatibong pananaliksik ay batay sa paglalarawan ng mga obserbasyon. Ang isang kwalitatibong paraan ay naglalarawan ng ekstruktura ng mga karanasan habang inihahandog nila ang kanilang sarili sa kamalayan. Hindi nakabatay ito sa teorya, kundi ito ay tumutukoy sa mga karanasan ng mga individual tungkol sa konsepto at phenomenolohiya. Kalahok sa pananaliksik. Mag-aaral na galing sa alternative learning system noong sila ay grade 10, subalit sila ay kasalukuyang nag-aaral ng senior high school sa pribadong paaralan ng The Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated. Ang purposive sampling ay isang non-probability sampling na pamamaraan. Nangyari ito kapag ang mga elementong napili para sa sample ay pinili ayon sa paghatol ng mananaliksik. Pagsusuri ng mga datos. Ayon kay Salderia taong 2009, ang kwalitatibong pag-aanalisa ng mga datos ay nangangailangan ng malawak na proseso batay sa pilosopikal na interpretasyon. Nabanggit sa disenyo ng pananaliksik na ang kwalitatibong pag-aaral na ito ay gumagamit ng mga pangungusap at talata sa pagsusuri ng mga datos na kaiba sa kwalitatibong pag-aaral. Analytical na balangkas ng pag-aaral. Ito ang tema na lumabas: transcription, pagbuo ng mga kahulugan, kategorya, pag-cluster ng mga tema, tematikong pagsusuri, definisyon ng mga tema, pagkakaltas ng resulta, balidasyon ng mga resulta. Mga resulta. Mga karanasang pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral. Ito ang tema na lumabas: walang sapat na koneksyon sa internet, pagsangguni sa mga guro, pagsali sa online class, pagdiriwang ng iba't ibang selebrasyon online. Hinaharap ng mga mag-aaral. Ito ang tema na lumabas: hinaharap ng mga mag-aaral sa panahon ng pandemya, focus at determinasyon, pagbibigay ng feedback, pagkakaroon ng sapat na mga gadget, pagbibigay ng konsiderasyon. Mga kabatirang natutunan ng mga mag-aaral. Ito ang tema na lumabas: kabatirang natutunan ng mga mag-aaral, maging maparaan, kolaborasyon, pagpasok sa klase, kahalagahan ng komunikasyon. Implikasyon sa pananaliksik sa hinaharap. Mga resulta. Isa sa mga sektor na lubos na naaapektuhan ng pandemya ay ang edukasyon. Dahil sa banta ng dulot ng coronavirus, napilitan ang mga paaralan sa buong bansa na magsara at lumipat sa on-campus face-to-face learning patungo sa distance learning. Ngunit hindi ito naging madali para sa lahat, lalo na sa mga estudyante, magulang at guro. Ang pangyayaring ito ay lubos na nakaapekto sa mga mag-aaral ng senior high school, lalong-lalo na yung mga mag-aaral na nagtapos ng alternative learning system.
Thank you very much. Wow, that's coming from our second presenter, Lordalie G. Lumba. Karanasang pagkatuto ng mga mag-aaral na galing sa alternative learning system na nasa senior high school sa panahon ng pandemya. Maraming salamat sa ating kapitapitagang Madam Lordalie G. Lumba. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be giving certificate of recognition to our second presenter. Philippine Association for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Council of Deans for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated Graduate School, Certificate of Recognition for Paper Presentation is hereby awarded to Lordalie G. Lumba for an excellent oral performance of her presentation on the 5th International Multidisciplinary Research Conference with the inclusive dates April 28, 29, 30th on the 2022 with the theme Directionality of Research and Creative Works for Utilization through Virtual Oral Presentation and Referred Journal Publication amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. This is signed at the same time by all our international acclaimed plenary speakers with our Institutional Research Director, Dr. Nelia B. Aga, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Lourdes C. Cabintoy, the Vice President for the Academic Affairs, and the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated President, Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno. Maraming salamat, Lordalie G. Lumba. And moving on to our next presenter, ladies and gentlemen, we have the knowledge on technical report writing among criminology students. Novime A. Tadlas.
Good day to each and everyone. My name is Novime A. Tadlas from Rizal Memorial College. I'm going to present the study entitled Knowledge on Technical Report Writing among Criminology Students. Now, every aspect of a criminology profession requires written correspondence. According to the study of RUFA 2019, a number of litigation in the country's court have relied heavily unreliable documents from law enforcement authorities. In the criminal justice profession, technical writing is critical for producing understandable and well-established reports in criminal procedures. A well-written report will also help to expedite the criminal justice process. Writing simple and succinct reports is a staple of the criminal justice profession in West Berkshire, England. The justice system would come to a halt without them. Creating a succinct report improves the likelihood of conviction and should be a goal for any professional. Report writing for criminology or criminal justice professionals gives the guidelines on how to create a report for nearly every major type of crime. Judges get details on note writing, interviewing witnesses, applying opinion, and anticipating the defense's action based on the report. Sorry. Now, in the Philippines, the College of Criminology at Nueva Ecija, University of Science and Technology, instills that required skills in their students to meet the Tri-Bureau requirements, traffic directions and control, teaching front desk duties, report writing, criminal investigations, firefighting, protocol observance, jail responsibilities, guarding community relations, and patrolling are some of the skills that are needed. Now, report writing was ranked 9.5 out of 11 job activities, indicating that report writing skills are undervalued in Philippine universities and colleges. Locally, the Department of Interior and local government level recognize the need for technical report writing skills among its employees. On the local level, the DILG 11 acknowledges that technical report writing allows it to efficiently convey the organization's progress and projects, receive constructive client input, and have greater impact on people. They agreed to hold a training session to improve their employees' ability to write technical reports. The appointed employees or the appointed information officers of each branch, unit, and province took part in the retooling exercise. This demonstrates the critical need for report writing in public services, particularly among law enforcement agencies like the Tri-Bureau, such as BFP, PNP, and BJMP. Now, this study uses a descriptive correlational research design, which is a type of research that looks at how things are related. The researcher's primary goal in descriptive correlational study is to describe the correlations between variables rather than to establish a causal link. This study will use basic random sampling as its sample strategy. Simple random sampling is a type of probability sampling in which researchers randomly pick a selection of participants from a larger group. 64 criminology students who had already finished the technical report writing course were the respondents in this study. This course is often taken in the third year of a criminology bachelor's degree program. Students who failed the course or who have not yet taken it are not included among the respondents. Now, let's discuss the results and discussion of this study. Now, in Table 1 presents the age profile of the respondents. Result shows that among 64 total respondents, a substantial majority of 78% of the respondents fall under 21 to 24 years of age. The reason why the majority of the respondents fall under the range ages of 21 to 24 years old was that they were a product of a new educational curriculum, which is a K-12 program. Respondents within 18 to 20 years old have the lowest distribution of 7.81%. Now, Now, these are the table for profile of the respondents in terms of age. Now, 18 to 20 years old has the lowest with of 7%, and 21 to 24 years of age has the highest percentage with 78.13%. Now, 25 years old and above with 14.06%. Now, in Table 2 presents the sex profile of the respondents. Given the fact that men make up the majority of the Rizal Memorial College criminology students, the result shows that 65.63% of the 64 total respondents were male, and 34.38% of the total number of respondents were female, respectively. Males have a higher distribution of representation compared to females with a difference of more than 30%. Now, this table shows the respondents in terms of gender. Now, male has a 42, which is with 65.63%, with a female and the percentage of 34.37%. Now, male has the highest percentage since criminology course or degree is populated by male, mostly by males, more than the females. Since it's also because of the nature of the degree or course. Now, in Table 3 presents the year-level profile of the respondents. Technical report writing is a course that is commonly taken throughout the third and fourth years of Bachelor of Science in Criminology. Interestingly, the third and fourth years have the same distribution. Since this course, which is a technical report writing, is will be taken for those under third year. So mostly, if students cannot take it under their third year, so it will be taken in their fourth year. Now, third year and fourth year has the same percentage and number of respondents in this study, with 50% both third year and fourth year respondents. Now, Table 4 shows the descriptive statistics of scores from technical report writing assessment. The average score of the respondents is 41%, a score of 15% and a maximum score of 80%. The standard error and standard deviation of the scores are low, implying that there is little dispersion, as evidenced by scores that are close to the average. The results show that the students' expertise in technical writing, report writing, is obviously limited. This could be due to unfavorable impact of online learning in the midst of a pandemic. A student-related problem. Our findings were reinforced by the study conducted by Miller, 2019, who found that many students from criminal justice-related courses are underprepared for college and are frequently enrolled in mediation. As a result, they lack the language and skills required to properly traverse the criminal justice writing standards. Now, in this table that I'm going to shows that the students has limited knowledge of the technical report writing. That may be because of the online learning, that because of this pandemic that results to this online learning. So, from the age of 21 to 24 years of age, It is critical since these ages is on more mm, on social media. They are they are the one who mostly active in social media. So online learning isn't really that uh, they cannot focus in online learning, and also some of the especially in student related problems, if they are not financially capable in buying devices or connection, it really impact the learning of the students or the respondents, especially this kind of environment in learning. Now, next is the results and discussion for Table 5, which presents the result, from the two group unpaired t-test and one-way analysis of variance. In terms of age, sex, and year level, respondents had similar result scores acquired on the given technical report writing. Report writing evaluation, which is considerably low. There is no significant difference in their assessment results based on their respondents' demographic profiles. Admittedly, our study was opposite to the study conducted by Dugdale, 2009, which shows that girls are significantly better writers than boys. Girls hold more positive attributes in writing compared to boys. Moreover, their study also implies that young people hold ambivalent attitudes towards writing. Most young people acknowledge a link between writing and future success. Now, these are the table for statistical results on testing the significant difference in the knowledge of students when analyzed according to profile. Now, in sex group is with a t-stat of 0.1495 with a p-value of 0.88. In age group with f-stat of 0.648 and with a p-value of 0.527. And in year level with t-stat of negative 0.0377 and a p-value of 0.97. Now these are the results when analyzed according to profile.
Thank you very much. Yes. Okay, thank you very much to our third presenter on the knowledge and technical report writing among criminology students. So that is Novi May A. Tadlas. Thank you, ma'am. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, awarding of certificate, please. Philippine Association for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Council of Deans for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated Graduate School Certificate of Recognition for Paper Presentation is hereby awarded to Ms. Novi May A. Tadlas for an excellent oral performance on her presentation of research during the 5th International Multidisciplinary Research Conference with the inclusive dates, April 28, 29, 30, 2022, with the theme Directionality of Research and Creative Works for Utilization Through Virtual Oral Presentation and Refereed Journal Publication Amidst the COVID-19 Pandemic. And this is actually signed by our plenary speakers internationally with our Institutional Research Director, Dr. Nelia Biaga, with the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, with our Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Lourdes C. Cabintoy, and the President of the Rizal Memorial Colleges, Dr. Evelyn Abeliera Magno. Thank you very much to our researcher, Nove May A. Tadlas from the Criminology Department. Wow, this is really a collaboration of different disciplines in research that we could like have invigorated ourselves in every aspect on a research and development. How about that? And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next presenter, Badjao's passion for education via the preservation of culture, a purview inquiry of Flora C. Garrido.
Good day, everyone. I am Flora C. Garrido, presenting the Badjao passion for education vis-a-vis preservation of culture, a purview of inquiry. As deprivation in education among the Badjaos continues to grow in the school settings, ways to make the additional condition experience for more meaningful and successful for students under the Badjao community. In 1926, Carter G. Woodson launched a whirling celebration of Black history in the United States. The very purpose of this study is validated in light of the recent culture and education system in our country, most especially for the Badjao people. This study also highlights the use of scientific-based intervention in the Sama Dalaut community to ensure students' learning difficulties are not due to a lack of adequate instruction, but studies continue to report that some indigenous people teacher minimally changes their instructional methods when Badjao students are placed in their classroom. Badjao or Bahao are men of the sea. This tribal group is known as the Sea Gypsies because they move when the wind tide on their small houseboats called vintas. They can be found in many coastal settlements and inhabit the waters and shores of the Sulu archipelago. Badjao is a collective term used to describe several closely related indigenous groups. These Badjao groups also blend culturally with the Sama groups into what most properly called the Sama Badjao people. Historically, the term Sama was used to describe the more land-oriented and settled Sam Badjao groups, while Badjao was used to describe the more sea-oriented, but dwelling nomadic groups. Even this function and feeding as the majority of Badjaos have long since abandoned boat living. Most for Sama-style peeling houses in the coastal shallows. Today, the greatest features distinguishing the Badjao from Sama are their poverty. By tradition, these people are known to be hardworking sea nomads, going from place to place through their small boats in search of fishing harvest. They are a pagan tribe that has been sealing the seas for over 1,000 years. Despite the romantic portrayals of the tribe, The Bajau never really had an easy life. When they were still living at sea, they were at least free from the everyday rejection and hardship brought upon by other tribes that live on land. These guardians of the sea have experienced themselves that times are tough on the water, but worse on land. At present, the Bajau are the most marginalized ethnic group and one of the poorest tribes in the Philippines. A Muslim tribe that is shunned by almost everyone. Still gypsies, but also named tramps and types. Their vibrant nomadic lifestyle, the way of life bequeathed to them by their ancestors, has vanished in the most parts of Mindanao. Therefore, the problem that arises in this study is the lack of education among the Bajau people in Davao City. Though the government has offered different scholarship programs that are not responsive to them, this study would somehow know their passion for education that is timely and relevant to our current situation. In like manner, this study is very important because upon discovering their culture, they will be assisted to preserve their culture by organizing different programs that would cater to their needs. The United Nations believes that providing a quality education serves as a backbone in helping people to escape from poverty and attain continuous education, economic growth. While significant progress in the Philippines has been made towards increasing access to education at all levels and increasing enrollment and promotion rates in schools, still, an inconvenient truth continues to bother the government for noticeably. There are many indigenous people who still hardly make it finish even the primary education. Despite the bolder efforts done to make more significant strides for achieving universal education goals. Therefore, this study on Bajau's passion for education vis-a-vis preservation of culture will help the Bajau students to become more aggressive in learning formal and non-formal education. Finally, this study will seek to answer the following questions. 1. What are the Bajau passions for education vis-a-vis preservation of their culture? 2. What are their yearnings to improve of life through education and the culture they practice? 3. What teaching and learning insights can be drawn to enhance Bajau's passion for education and preserving their culture? This section covers research design, including why the chosen design was selected. It also includes a description of the participants, the researchers' participant relationship, data collection, and data analysis. Ethnography is a type of qualitative research that gathers observation, interviews, and documentary data to produce detailed and comprehensive accounts of different social phenomena of the Sama-Dilao tribe in Matina, Aplaya, Davao City. The use of ethnographic research of this field of endeavor has produced some insightful accounts into the role, functions, and difficulties in the preparation of the indigenous students for the preservation of their culture and knowing their passion for education. Ultimately, this thesis aims to develop an in-depth understanding of the Sama-Dilao tribes, passion for education, and how they preserve one's culture within a specific social content. Further, this thesis aimed to illustrate and further develop dynamic psychosocial identity theory. It was assumed that all participants answered interview questions honestly and to the best of their abilities. It was further assumed that the sample used for the study was representative of a face-to-face interview. The ethnographic description also sits the same for the more macro analysis that follow. The analysis of data will have in relevance to a broader population of the Sama-Dilao tribe, who also lived within a similar socio-historical context and share similar social discourses, particularly those surrounding around Matina Playa, Davao City. It is a presupposition of this study that different groups of Bajau will have different ways of negotiating these discourses. The target population for this study will be the 10 Bajau students who aged at 18 years old and above, and a member of the Sama-Dilao community residing along Matina Playa, Davao City. The researcher considered the Bajau students who are studying in elementary program, despite their age, since they have already experienced attending classes even up to this day. From this population, a sample of 10 Bajau students was purposefully selected. The researcher will be purposive sampling, also known as judgment, selective or subjective sampling, wherein it is a sampling technique in which the researcher relies on their judgment when choosing member of the population to participate in the study. This survey sampling method requires researchers to have prior knowledge about the purpose of their studies so that they can properly choose and approach eligible participants to be conducted. Bajau passion for education is very important because most of the children are not literate and mostly the parent cannot help them to read and write. Since their parents are also illiterate, most of the children read learning assistance, coaching, or tutoring outside their homes if they are to be educated. They need to be literate if there is any hope for them to assimilate with peers outside of the tribe and for them to have any vocational course in adulthood. According to the memorandum order from the Department of Education 2018, the said mandated shall protect and promote the right of all citizens to quality basic education and shall take appropriate steps to make such educations accessible to all. Also, the Department of Education shall establish, maintain, and support a complete, adequate, and integrated system of basic education relevant to the needs of the people and society. The increasing rate of dropouts and failures of Bajau students is very alarming. This study described the influence of culture of Bajau students' attitudes toward academic performance. The researcher wants to see if there are possible ways in which culture is applied in studies and if there are ways to improve their performance in school and avoid sinking performance grades. This study examined the social exclusion confronting the Bajau people, the sea nomads of the Philippines, through discourse analysis, narrative inquiry, and participant observation. This program was designed to address the prevalent issues to low academic performance of Bajau students due to culture and poverty. The idea was to introduce and reinforce the importance of obtaining an education to have a better future. The use is a qualitative ethnographic kind of research with multiple case methods. Regarding the social learning theory by Vygotsky, within the data collected, socializing has been seen as a hindrance towards their learning because of certain actions such as bullying towards them. This study discovered that social affiliation, most particularly in engagement and attendance to events like weddings, internment, and Thanksgiving, influence Bajau students' views towards their academic performances. In response to the questions, in what situation can you apply the teaching and learning insight for have experience? Participants commented with the following responses, which are anchored of the theme, preservation of the culture, to it, preservation of culture. The participants believe that preservation of their culture is the most important situation that they experience in teaching and learning. They revealed that if a member of the Samadila or tribe is educated, there is a big chance that these educated Bajaus will become an agent of change and social transformation. They confess that once culture is preserved, their existence in the community will never be forgotten. Culture heritage is central to protecting our sense of who we are. It gives us an irrefutable connection to the past, to certain social values, beliefs, customs, and traditions that allows us to identify ourselves with others and deepen our sense of unity, belonging, and national pride. Cultural heritage is the legacy of physical artifacts and intangible attributes of a group or society that are inherited from past generations, maintained in the present, and bestowed for the benefit of future generations. Cultural heritage includes tangible culture such as buildings, monuments, landscapes, books, work of arts, and artifacts. They were tagged as a slow learner, having poor hygiene and having a low emotional quotient. Because of language barrier, they have difficulty interacting with other people and expressing their ideas and needs. They are always left out in learning academic subjects. They lack moral and financial support to continue their education. Most of them are still dependent on their parents even if they are already have families. One thing in common for the Bajau, family extension is still part of their culture and it will always be part of their daily struggles. The increasing rate of dropouts and failures of Bajau students is very alarming. This study describes the influence of culture on Bajau students' attitudes toward academic performance. The researcher wants to see if there are possible ways in which culture is applied in studies and if there are ways to improve their performance in school and avoid sinking performance of grades. This study examines the social inclusion confronting the Bajau people, the sea nomads of the Philippines, through discourse analysis, narrative inquiry, and participants' observations. Further education is very important because most of the Bajau children are not illiterate, and mostly the parents cannot help them and read and write, since their parents are also illiterate. Most of the children need learning assistance, coaching, or tutoring outside their homes if they are to be educated. They need to be literate if there is any for them to assimilate with peers outside of their tribe for them to have any vocational choices in adulthood. Finally, the Bajau tribe are amongst the most abandoned and vulnerable people in the Philippines, as they are an indigenous tribe with their own culture, language, and customs are they treated as second and third class citizens by the Philippines government. Education means studying to obtain a deeper knowledge and understanding of a variety of subjects to be applied to daily life as part of one's culture. Education is not limited to just knowledge from books but can also be obtained through practical experiences of the Bajau outside of the classroom. Good day and thank you everyone.
Thank you very much to our presenter this morning. And of course, it's another valuable contribution to Joe's passion for education vis-a-vis preservation of culture, a purview inquiry of Miss Flora C. Garrido. Thank you very much, ma'am. And we also would like to take every opportunity thanking Miss Garrido on your 5th International Multidisciplinary Research Conference. Thank you, ma'am, of your expertise today, and for that, we'll give you this certificate.
Recording in
Of
progress.
her presentation during the 5th International Multidisciplinary Research Conference with the inclusive dates April 28, 29, 30, 2022 with the theme Directionality of Research and Creative Works for Utilization Through Virtual Aids, the COVID-19 pandemic, signed by our National Research Director, Dr. Nelia Biaga, with the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, with the Vice President for Academic Affairs, Dr. Lourdes C. Cabintoy, and the Rizal Memorial College's President, Dr. Evelyn Abellera Magno. Congratulations to Miss Flora C. Garrido on your study on Bajau's passion for education vis-a-vis preservation of culture, a purview inquiry. Thank you, ma'am. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our next presenter on the assessment on the teaching strategies and social media utilization as predictors of academic achievement in social studies. Ladies and gentlemen, let us put our virtual hand together for Deniso Hamid Ahmad.
My warmest greetings to all of you joining this amazing webinar hosted with excellency and pride of the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated. My name is Denise Hamid B. Ahmad and I am from the same school, taking up Bachelor of Secondary Education, currently on my 4th year with a major in Social Studies. And in behalf of my co-authors of the research that I'll be presenting, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to have been invited to this amazing and so much wonderful event. With pride and honor, I would like to present to you our research entitled Assessment on the Teaching Strategies and Social Media Utilization as Predictors of Academic Achievement in Social Studies. Our study in Canada, conducted by Noonan 2014, agreed that educators should understand the needs, preferences, objectives, and skills of learners to achieve better learning outcomes. Moreover, several studies have shown that students tend to perform well when teaching strategies that correspond to students' needs, according to Manka and Dwyer 2013. Many research and surveys as well have been performed to support the fact that many students struggle to understand concepts of social studies. The researchers are inspired to research this subject as a result of these previous studies. This research study varies from the others that it focuses on the impact of social media and instructional strategies on students' academic achievement in social studies. Previous researchers have yet accomplished such a feat. In addition, there is no published studies and articles in the organizations that are identical to these studies. To this end, the study supporters felt that a study of teaching strategies and social media was necessary as predictors of academic achievement in social studies. Moving forward, the purpose of the study is to assess the teaching strategies and social media utilization as predictors of academic achievement of learners in social studies. Particularly, this sought to answer the following queries. Finally, the results of this study is beneficial to the following: Department of Education or the DepEd officials, in which the findings of this study provides information on the assessment of teaching strategies, the use of social media in the classroom, academic achievement, and the link between these variables. Another one, the results of this study would benefit the authorities of DepEd. This study gives them a larger baseline data about the effectiveness of teaching or teachers' teaching strategies and the usage of social media to achieve higher academic achievement during the learning process. We also have here the school heads. The research results would be useful to the school heads. It would be more effective for an organization to provide a larger impact. Resources and reforms that are usually aimed at students and teachers in using social media and teaching strategies to achieve academic success. Another one, of course, the learners. These findings provide an opportunity for them to recognize the impact of social media and teaching strategies on student performance. Of course, for the teachers, they can have the suitable setting for teaching and learning processes in the student's best interest. Of course, the research also will be beneficial to the future researchers, in which likewise, this study acts as a springboard for further research into the relevant factors and related studies and variables. Moving forward, the study utilized a descriptive correlation method in securing the data to come up with the accurate result of the study. A descriptive correlation study is a research method that describes and predicts how variables are naturally related in the real world without any attempt by the researcher to alter them or assign causation between them. FAT 2015. So the respondents of our study were the students of the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated who have engaged in the school year 2020-2021. The eligibility criteria for these students are as follows. 1, have been enrolled with Bachelor of Secondary Education with a major in Social Studies and in the said school as chosen by the researcher during the academic year 2020-2021. And of course, those who will agree to participate. This study used pool or total population sampling to choose respondents, which is a kind of purposeful sampling in which the entire population of interest is investigated. At the same time, this is known for its unbiased way of choosing the respondents. Moving right along, the study utilized an adaptive modified questionnaire. This was the main tool that was used in gathering the data needed for the study. It was designed according to the variables reflected in the study, and this was the first part of the adapted questionnaire determines the preferred teaching strategies in terms of interactive lecture, which relate to how students remember the concepts and acquire knowledge about the subject. Second is the cooperative learning, which involves learning by interaction with others, and inquiry-based instruction, finally, which involve learning by inquiry. And this was adapted from the study of Oxford 1990. The second part determines the social media platforms utilized by teachers in teaching social studies, enumerated as Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. This questionnaire was adapted from the study of AltaLab 2018. Meanwhile, the parts of the questionnaire will be rated by the respondents from 5 as the highest and 1 as the lowest score. Such range had its respective descriptive equivalent and interpretation. In facilitating the data collection, of course, the researchers adhere the proper protocol and standard operating procedures set by the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated. And the statistical tools used in the study are mean, percentage and frequency, standard deviation, and t-test. This was utilized to determine the significant relationship between social media utilization and, of course, teaching strategies and academic achievement of learners. And for academic achievement, the final grades of the selected respondents were obtained. The academic achievement is based on the Department of Education Ed Audit number 8, series of 2015, which is also known as the Policy Guidelines on Classroom Assessment for the K-12 Basic Education Program. And to give you the summary, Table 4 summarizes the level of teaching strategies in terms of various indicators as interactive lectures, cooperative learning, and inquiry-based instruction. The table reveals the overall mean score of 4.113, which has the descriptive equivalent of high. All right, so this shows that teaching strategies are useful to students. This strategy increases the students' devotion to class. In addition, the school must enhance its school-based academic support system and hire skilled personnel to carry out activities that will apply various teaching strategies and increase students' engagement and participation in class. Reflected in the table 9 is the summary of the level of social media utilization of students in social studies in terms of the identified Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. The overall mean rating of the level of social media utilization of students in social studies in terms of Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram is 3.189 or moderate. This means that the utilization of social media platforms of teachers is moderately evident. So Table 10 shows the level of academic achievement of students in social studies. And as can be seen in the table, the average mean score of academic achievement of students is 84.728, which bears a descriptive equivalent of moderate. This means that the academic achievement of students or learners is approaching proficiency. And it is extremely noteworthy that students have performed well in social studies. The institution and instructors of social studies, however, cannot rest on their laurels since they must continue to improve the academic performance of the students. So moving forward to the significant relationship between teaching strategies and social media or academic achievement of students in social studies. So as can be seen in the said table, the R value is 0.243, which bears a descriptive equivalent of negligible correlation. The P value of 0.098, which is greater than the alpha 0.05, further suggests that the correlation between the two variables under the study is not statistically significant. This means that the null hypothesis, there is no significant relationship between teaching strategies and academic achievement of students in social studies, is accepted. Moving forward to the significant relationship between social media and academic achievement in social studies, the table 12 reveals, and as can be referred in the table, the R value of 0.352 signifies no positive correlation between social media utilization and academic achievement in social studies. A p-value of 0.015 further suggests that the relationship between the two variables is statistically significant. More so, the above mentioned numerical findings suggest that the null hypothesis, there is no significant relationship between social media and the academic achievement of students in social studies is rejected. Based on the study's findings, the following conclusions were reached. Through the integration of diverse teaching strategies and social media utilization, traditional learning sessions would become more engaging. It could help to foster an open-minded thinking and allow students to voice their opinions and actively participate in the learning activities organized by teachers. The effective use of social media and other teaching strategies has a significant impact on students' academic performance, and to improve students' participation, teachers must look at various instructional strategies. And of course, students who actively participate in class are more likely to succeed. As students' grades tend to increase when he or she actively engages in class, and it is advised that educational institutions employ social media platforms for teaching and learning activities, as well as a range of teaching strategies to engage and interact with these students and eliminate the shortcomings of conventional and finally the traditional classrooms. And of course, in the light of the foregoing findings and conclusions of our study, the following recommendations are offered. The study discovered a negligible relationship between teaching strategies and student academic achievement. And with this information, authorities from the Department of Education and Commission on Higher Education can develop policies to ensure the well-being of learners. School administrators and the directors may also consider creating or improving school-based teaching strategies for students, as well as educating parents on how to assist and encourage their children to perform well at school. The substantial link between between social media utilization and academic achievement of students in social studies or social studies findings may investigate the teacher's use of the following platform to keep the students active and engaged. Furthermore, the Department of Education may offer teachers training courses to provide with the capacity to maximize students' involvement with the effective use of these social media platforms. The current level of teaching strategies and social media utilization implies that different players, including school heads, DepEd, and CHED officials, administrators, stakeholders, the teachers and parents must make intentional efforts to really increase these variables. Using different respondents and a more advanced approach or analysis approach, future researchers may undertake a follow-up study on the factors identified in this research. In spite of the pandemic, we emerged victorious. That's all for our research. To the organizers, thank you very much for organizing this super amazing event, which is timely and relevant to our circumstance. Thank you so much to technology. Once again, thank you very much for listening and my gratitude to have been invited to this amazing event. Mabuhay and maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much to our presenter, Deniso Hamid Ahmad, on the assessment on the teaching strategies and social media utilization as predictors of the academic achievement in social studies. Indeed, it is really a great and sincere appreciation for your performance today, while for sharing your time and experiences with us. I agree that your presentation is very interesting and so looking forward to having you in the next conference. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be having our certificate of recognition. Philippine Association for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Council of Deans for Graduate Education of Region 11, the Rizal Memorial Colleges Incorporated Graduate School. Certificate of recognition for paper presentation is hereby awarded to Mr. Deniso Hamid Ahmad for an excellent oral performance on his presentation on the 5th International Multidisciplinary Research Conference with the inclusive dates April 28, 29, 30 of 2022 with the theme Directionality of Research and Creative Works for Utilization through Virtual Oral Presentation and Referred Journal Publication amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, signed by our plenary speakers internationally with the Institutional Research Director, Dr. Nelia B. Aga, with the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Pablo F. Busquet, with the Vice President for the Academic Affairs, Dr. Lourdes C. Cabintoy, and the Rizal Memorial College's President, Dr. Evelyn Abelguera Magno. Once again, congratulations to Mr. Deniso Hamid Ahmad. Looking forward to having you in our next conference. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to read in the chat box the sincere appreciation in one of our speakers a while back, which is timely and relevant to the current plight of indigenous peoples in the Philippines. Thank you very much, ma'am, for conducting the research. Mabuhay ka. So that is the message for Ms. Flora C. Garrido on the Badjao's passion for education vis-a-vis on the preservation of culture, a purview inquiry. Thank you, ma'am. This is timely and relevant on the plight of our indigenous sisters and brothers. And moving on to our next presenter, ladies and gentlemen, today on the impact of online class learning among criminology students. Ladies and gentlemen, on the virtual floor and our next presentation, Idol Grace Flores, a registered criminologist.
Good day, everyone. I'm Idol Grace Flores from Rizal Memorial Colleges of Davao. My research title is Impact of Online Class Learning Among Criminology Students. Now, I choose this research because the main variable is to understand the factors and the impacts of online class among criminology students. We all know that technology is one of the most used in our society, especially now that we are in the midst of a pandemic where our only way of interacting with the world is through technology, particularly for students who are still learning despite the lack of face-to-face interaction in school. However, it is hard for students to adopt the new concept of teaching, causing social isolation and a lack of development in communication skills. We have to admit that technology is not always efficient and can cause significant disruptions to classes. Another factor that affects efficiency is the availability of the internet. Students rely on how fast and efficient their internet provider is. which will cause complications if not available. Now, each university has a different approach to the crisis. Some universities are adjusting well, and some are not. Now, for my introduction, the growth of online enrollment in the US has increased for 14 consecutive years irrespective of an expanding or shrinking economy and rising or declining overall college enrollments. At the same time, the number of students exclusively taking face-to-face classes on a brick-and-mortar campus has been dropping according to SEMA in 2018. In 2016, there were over 6 million students in the US who enrolled in at least one online class, and the proportion of students who enrolled in at least one online course has risen to 30%. Now, public institutions and not-profit institutions have the largest percentage of students taking online classes. Continued growth of online programs, especially for business educations, seems to be on the horizon in the next 5 years. Surprisingly, over half the students took at least one online class along took a course on campus, and students not physically present in the US who enrolled in the US online degree programs were only 1% of all students taking online classes. This implies that the majority of online programs are not currently attracting students who live far from the university, effectively continuing to increase the number of students from faraway locations within and outside the US presents both an opportunity and a challenge to universities. In 2021, the Philippines became the last country in the world to open its classroom to children again. For most of the year, the Department of Education continued its remote learning system from 2020, with the coronavirus pandemic first struck. This despite criticism from various stakeholders about how the system was leaving the less privileged students and teachers behind because of the digital divide. The Duterte government had always claimed that the decision to keep schools closed was in the best interest of the children, as COVID-19 vaccines were not available to the youth for most of the year. This study dwells on the impact of online class learning among criminology students at Rizal Memorial Colleges. The research prompted to conduct this investigation, hoping to elicit the implicit discourses of the respondents that gives meaning to the educational related issues. Furthermore, the results of this study serves as a data bank for the pillar of school administrators and parents in improving their role in supporting their students and children effectively. Now for the review of related literature. These are the corresponding pieces of literature that would support the relevancy of the study. Theories have supported these sections, concepts, insights, and opinions of authorities relevant to the implementation of the High Quality Act are further discussed in the section. Online learning has been on the rise in recent years. It has become more popular by simply being more convenient than traditional face-to-face classes. According to William Barry, 2020, to prevent the spread of COVID-19 in school, online learning can be an effective solution for activating classrooms even though schools or universities have been closed. But despite having the solutions, still has a negative impact on students. According to Gikas and Grant, 2018, the implementation of online learning requires devices such as smartphones, tablets, laptops that can be used to access information anywhere and anytime. Now, online education lowered a student's final grade. Their work also confirms of previous peers finding that the negative effect of online learning was driven by the students with lower academic liability. While traditional teaching relies heavily on face-to-face interactions between instructors and students, online learning replaces this by the interaction of students with online instructional materials and indirect communication or skills being taught. In traditional learning emphasizes students as merely receptors of knowledge delivered by the instructor. whereas in active and learning teaching approaches such as problem-based learning, students are encouraged to discover for themselves. We have access. It is the permission, liberty, or ability to enter, approach, or pass to, and from a place or to approach or communicate with a person or thing investigators wanted to get in online learning. Students express the importance of having course materials organized for ease of navigation and use in the learning environment, as well as having instructors adopt or increase their use of the institution's LMS. Many students specifically asked for class slides from PowerPoint presentation and instructors notes what was covered in class. In response to a significant demand, many learning platforms are offering free access to their services, including platforms like Google Meet, a Bangalore-based educational technology and online tutoring from the firm in 2011. Since announcing free live classes on its Think and Learn app, Google Meet has seen a 200% increase in the number of new students using its product, according to Mrinal Mohit, the company's chief operating officer. About 1 in 4 students who are poor do not have a desktop computer or laptop, 23.7%, and almost 1 in 3 or 29.4% do not have a tablet, which are essential if students are to be able to follow instructions online. Indeed, 7.0% of students who are poor do not have home internet. The other essential instrument for remote study. In contrast, only 7.7% of non-poor students lack a desktop or laptop computer, and only a tiny fraction of non-poor students, or 1.6%, are without internet access, according to Garcia and Anga. Now, social interaction. This can be studied between groups or 2, 3, or larger social groups. By interacting with one another, people design rules, institutional, and system within which they seek to live. Next is the methods. This study made use of quantitative, non-experimental research design utilizing descriptive development technique. It is non-experimental research because the independent variable of the study is not manipulated and there is no random assignment to groups. The method involves range from survey which describes the status quo of the correlation study which investigates the relationship between variables to development studies which seeks to determine. Now we have here the results. This chapter presents the data collected from the respondents of the study. The data were presented systematically, interpreted, and critically analyzed in order to make this portion more meaningful and understandable. Now in Table 1, it illustrates the area of the profile of the respondents, which consists of age, gender, and year level. In terms of age, out of 30 cooperating respondents, 1 or 3.33% belong to 18 to 20 years old bracket. 23 or 76.7% came from 21 to 23 years old bracket, and 6 or 20% contributed by 24 years old and above bracket. And out of 30 cooperating respondents, 16 or 53.3% came from male respondents, and female was 14 or 46.7%. Now in the year level, out of 30 cooperating respondents, first year has 3 or 6.7%, second year has 1 or 2.2%, 11 or 20.4% from third year, and 30 or 66.7% belong to the fourth year. We have here the Table 2. It presents the impact of online class learning among criminology students in terms of issues and state. It is evident that the overall mean of 3.82 revealed that the impact online class learning among criminology students in terms of efficiency is frequently manifested. The highest mean, 3.9, stating accomplished activities and quizzes with high marks, showed as frequently manifested, while the lowest mean of 3, 73, stating escalates your excellency in academic performance, showed as frequently manifested. In Table 3, it presents the impact of online class learning among criminology students in terms of access. It is relevant that overall mean of 3.59 revealed the impact of frequently manifested, the highest mean of 3.83 stating submits class activities and quizzes on the given time, showed as frequently manifested, while the lowest mean of 3.1 stating participants in the class without any internal problems, shows occasionally manifested. Next is Table 4. It presents the impact of online class learning among criminology students in terms of social interaction. It is evident that the overall mean of 3.91 revealed that the impact of online class learning among criminology students in terms of access is frequently manifested. The highest mean, 4.03, stating approaches teacher for some concerns and questions, and developed socializing every class discussions, showed as frequently manifested, where the lowest mean, 3.7, stating escalates self-confidence every course reporting, and visual presentations showed as frequently manifested. Next, we have here the Table 5. It summarizes the impact of online class learning among criminology students in terms of efficiency, access, and social interactions, presented with mean ratings ranging from 3.59 to 3.91. The overall mean for the implementation of height equality, act as perceived by criminology students, is 3.77, or described as frequently manifested. Now for this discussion or conclusion, the main thrust of this study was to determine the impact of online class learning among criminology students. The findings of the study were recapitulated as follows. The impact of online class learning among criminology students in terms of efficiency, access, and social interaction is presented with mean ratings ranging from 3.59 to 3.91. The overall mean for the implementation of Height Equality Act as perceived by the criminology students is 3.77, or described as frequently manifested. That's all. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you very much to our presenter today. Thank you so much, Ma'am. And it's such an admirable presentation that you have just had. Okay. Thank you, Miss Idel Grace Flores, a registered criminologist, on the impact of online class learning among criminology students. And at this time, ladies and gentlemen, we'll have the awarding of the Certificate of Recognition.